On a warm afternoon when sunlight spilled across the street like soft gold, a thin woman named Marissa pushed open the door of a small riverside bakery with her little daughter, Flora, holding tightly onto her sleeve. The bakery smelled of fresh bread, warm pastries, and sweet cakes layered like treasures behind glowing glass. To most people, this place was ordinary, a stop for coffee or a quick treat, but to Marissa, who had eaten nothing since yesterday and whose daughter had survived only on a shared apple core, it felt like stepping into another world. Her shoes were dusty, her clothes worn, and her heart trembled with the quiet fear of being seen in a place that looked too clean for people like her. Flora, with tired eyes but a soft glimmer of hope, kept close to her mother, staring at the rows of colorful cakes decorated like celebrations they had never been a part of. Marissa swallowed, gathering the little courage left in her bones, and stepped toward the counter where the workers exchanged polite but uncertain looks, sensing something unusual. She didn't come to buy anything. She knew she couldn't. But she came because hunger had cornered her, and when life becomes heavier than dignity, people often choose hope over pride. With a voice that shook like a fragile leaf, she asked if they had any leftover cake, anything old, anything thrown away at the end of the day, something she could give her daughter who hadn't tasted a treat in months. The workers grew silent, uncomfortable, unsure if they should help or follow the strict rules of their employer. Their hesitation settled heavily in the air, and Marissa felt her cheeks burn with shame. She thought of turning around, escaping the moment, pretending she hadn't asked, but Flora's small fingers tightened around her hand, silently reminding her that hope was the only thing they had left. And just a few steps behind, standing quietly near the shelves, someone else had overheard everything. Roland Vance, one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs in the city, stood alone in a simple gray suit, blending into the crowd despite being a man who usually commanded attention. He hadn't come for business today. He'd come to breathe, to escape the noise of meetings and responsibilities, and to enjoy a moment of peace inside this small bakery where no one knew who he was. But life rarely follows the plans we make. As he watched Marissa speak, something inside him shifted, something deep and old and painful. People assumed wealth made hearts cold, but his had turned cold for a different reason. Years ago, he had lost his wife and little daughter in a tragic accident, and since then, a wall of silence had guarded his emotions. Nothing reached him anymore, no joy, no sorrow, until he saw Flora's small, trembling hands and the quiet desperation in Marissa's eyes. In that moment, he wasn't looking at strangers. He was looking at echoes of the family he once held close, the memories that visited him only in dreams. He didn't see poverty. He didn't see helplessness. He saw a mother fighting to survive and a child who had learned too early how to hide her wishes. As the tension grew heavier in the room, Roland took a slow step forward. He didn't reveal his identity. He didn't clear his throat to attract attention. He simply walked to the counter with calm, steady steps and asked the staff to pack the freshest cake they had. The large vanilla sponge layered with berries and covered in soft cream that Flora had stared at as if it were a distant star. Then he ordered warm meals, pastries, sandwiches, and anything he believed could add strength back into two exhausted bodies. Marissa watched with confusion, unsure why a stranger would make such an order. She braced herself, expecting perhaps a lecture or judgment, something she had learned to endure in the long, tiring journey of survival. But instead, Roland gently nodded at the cashier, signaling for the food to be handed to her. His voice remained soft, steady, almost musical in its calmness, as he thanked the workers and wished them a good afternoon. He did not wait for applause. He did not wait for recognition. He simply stepped back, allowing the moment to unfold with the dignity that kindness deserves. Marissa's trembling hands reached for the bags, and when she realized the food was for her and her daughter, her eyes filled with tears she had held back for months. Her knees almost weakened under the weight of relief. Flora's face brightened, not with greed, but with a pure, gentle joy, the kind a child shows when hunger loosens its grip for the first time in too long. The bakery workers softened, their earlier hesitation now replaced with quiet shame and unexpected admiration. They had witnessed something rare. Kindness done without an audience, compassion given without conditions. Marissa whispered a fragile thank you, her voice cracking like a thin piece of glass. Roland only nodded, giving her the kind of smile that held warmth instead of pity. He walked toward the door, letting the sunlight embrace him as he stepped outside. For the first time in years, the world felt slightly lighter. The wind that brushed his face no longer carried the weight of loneliness. Something within him had softened, awakened. A small spark of healing in a heart long frozen by grief. Marissa and Flora sat on a nearby bench, sharing the cake with small bites filled with gratitude and quiet happiness. Their tired smiles looked like the first sunrise after a long storm. And as Roland watched from a distance, he realized that sometimes it isn't millions of dollars or grand gestures that change a life. Sometimes it's one act of quiet kindness, given at exactly the moment someone needs it most. He didn't expect anything in return. He didn't expect forgiveness for his own past. But in giving hope to a mother and daughter who had nearly lost theirs, he found a small piece of his own heart returning to life. And perhaps that was the hidden miracle inside the question Marissa had asked. A simple request for leftover cake that opened the door to compassion, healing, and a reminder that humanity still shines even in the most unexpected places.